Yeah. Wait, should we record this? Because I saw this on my feed and I was going to leave a comment and I saw your comment on it. And then I
Yeah.
didn't even end up leaving my comment.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay.
When you start your business, no one ever prepares you for what's in store. So finding someone else who just gets it is sometimes the thing that can keep you pushing towards those big vision board business goals.
We're turning our Zoom coffee chats into a weekly, unfiltered podcast. You always wanted to record them and repurpose them for content anyways, and that's on being a social media manager.
I'm Jessica Sheehy.
And I'm Madeline Daigan, and this is
hashtag
managed. I think it's perfect.
I like it. I like it.
Okay, two things. So I'm going to give you guys a peek into our crazy brains and our crazy ideas. And like, I want to walk you through like how Jessica and I even like approached it with each other. So for instance, I can't remember if it was in San Diego or if it was before that, but I went to Jessica and I was like, so I have this crazy idea. I was like, what do you think about having a grid feed that's in all black and white? Because we're going with this old money aesthetic, and hopefully you guys will see that. You know, if you see that, my job, well done. I can retire. Not really. But I was a little nervous, like, and like when I came to you with that, like, what was going through your mind? Like,
I think at first it's funny because at first I was kind of like, black and white feed. I don't know. It just kind of scared me. You know what I mean? It definitely scared me. And so that was my first thought. But my other thought for Social Savvy, like for our agency in particular, I've been thinking like, how do we up level? Like, how do we really change things to just like encompass a little bit more of like, dare I say, like a luxurious service? Like, that's just something I feel like after all this time and all these years, like, I don't know. I just kind of want to create that. So I also thought, you know what, that kind of answers and solves that question. And so then we talked through how, like, again, our branding is not going to be black and white and boring. It's going to be like old money aesthetic. So of course, Maddie did color psychology on all of it, on all of the colors for all of the 3 brands for agency, podcast, blog. But we really thought it through specifically for Social Savvy. And Social Savvy's was the hardest color palette to create. Like, the blog, I think instantly again, it took time to create, but that was the quickest. We were like, nope, got it. We on a team meeting. Yep. Approved. Got it. Done. Move on. Same with hashtag manage. I think there was a few things that we went back and forth on, just kind of like updating and fine tuning. But for the most part, that brand, like, okay.
I will say that one though was the hardest for me. And I think, and Jessica mentioned this, like with Social Savvy, like she's like, that's her baby. That's her baby before her real baby, like her human baby.
My firstborn.
Yeah, her firstborn. And I think for me as a co-host, as a friend, as like a partner, where no pressure, no pressure. But that one, it was hard. It was definitely the color palette was definitely the hardest to nail. But Jessica and I had been like, obviously I absorbed everything Jessica was throwing at me as we were talking through this, and I just kept hearing like the up level luxury, and we don't throw that word out there sparingly. Like, we like take that very seriously. So like, I think when I kept hearing that, I was like, wow, like black and white, that makes me feel classic, timeless, elegant.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that we thought of too is, which has been really fun, I think, it's all been really fun, but like one thing that was really creative that this is why you need to have a long timeline. Like, I could have came to the team being like, guys, we're rebranding. I did say, yes, we're rebranding all the things at once. There's a lot of reason behind that, a lot of strategy. That's before the team knew that I was pregnant, and I was already thinking about 2025 as a whole. and kind of everything that I wanted to kind of roll out into when I needed to roll it out. Now, did I want to roll it out ASAP? Of course, but strategically and just time and energy and resources as a team, Q2 made the most sense for us to roll it out. We booked in that photo shoot in Q1. We met, we strategized, we talked through so many things. Obviously, Maddie like spent so much time creating and executing and designing. So many layers to having it come together. And even then, like for the most part, for most of March, we've had the brands, but like we're fine tuning the brands. We have like brand guidelines that are like the most in-depth brand guidelines that you'll ever see, which is great. We have strategy decks within that, within how do we execute this brand on stories and on feed and like across our channels. Like, what is it going to look like the week of April 1 when we do rebrand Instagram and and everything. And then thinking about all of the small pieces in between, right? Like, okay, we've got to update. Like, Social Savvy's been around for a long time. We've got a lot of things going. Like, we have a lot of things that we need to update, not only on social, but the website, our email signatures, our headshots, like all things that we have, but we have to like execute it. So having that time was so good. But I think with that time, we were able to go deeper with the brands and more specifically with Social Savvy's brand, where we really thought through like our theme, if you will, of the old money aesthetic. I know we'll go through, Maddie has like some really good like a really good like checklist or guidelines. I don't know what we want to call it specifically. But old money country club vibes, and Maddie and I think even on like a one-on-one, not necessarily like a planning call, the idea just dropped down from the universe in our laps, and we were like, wait, it clicked. We've got it. We're running with this theme. This is our new copy. We're using this theme we're rebranding our newsletter. Like, it just all came into place. And I really don't think you get to that moment without planning and without being strategic around your rebrand.
And I think what's funny, and for more context of like, it was a one-on-one and I was struggling with what to do with the icons. Like we had we had the font, the typography checked, we had the coloring, and like then the next step for me was to kind of think about the icons and the patterns, and I was just like, I knew I didn't want it to be a phone, a laptop, like something so stereotypical that I was just like, and I forget, I feel like you guys know, like we honestly always are on the same brain wavelength. And I think seriously in that moment, we both were like, again, old money. We were like, okay, what about a country club? And then one thing just led to the next. And like, then Jessica was like, oh God, all the copy. And like, cause all of it was amazing. I was like, wow, that's not me right now. Oh,
Maddie's like, I'm so glad my job's
like, I'm
done. She's like, Jessica, you're doing all that. No, but that's what I think was so good about it, because we really thought it through, and like we were able to like bounce ideas off of each other. And that's where I feel like, again, I feel like in the branding world, like brand designers are really similar to us as social media managers, right? Like you've got your social media marketers, your managers, your strategists, your content creators, like all the above. You've got brand designers who do like different things and have different skill sets. Like some people are really good like at illustration. Some people are really great at, they just do logos. Some people do like brand guidelines, but then some people think full strategy around the brand, like content strategy, copy, like theme, all of the above. So that's where, so again, I think goes without saying, obviously we haven't mentioned anyone else, but we have done everything in-house. But we all bring like very unique skill sets and just ideas to the mix.
Yes. And okay, like Jessica said, I do kind of have a checklist, if you will, that we'll go into. But I think the one thing before I go into this that I will say is, if you're like thinking about rebranding or you're launching something, I'm going back to what Sam said, and that is to treat your. Was it Sam or was it Heather? Now I'm like, I'm sorry, ladies.
I think it was Sam.
But
I know you haven't
Sam,
really said what you're saying, but I
but
think
you
it's
know what I'm about to say. It's
yeah.
like treat yourself like a client, because there's
Yep.
no way. And I just think back to the Buzzy and Blonde. Like when for the solopreneurs out there, I know it's hard. Like I'm gonna say, like I'm clearly under an agency now. I'm under Jessica's agency. And it is so nice to have a team and honestly a boss to like hold me accountable. And granted, like I think solopreneurs, entrepreneurs, like we do have that skill set of like holding ourselves accountable. But like for solopreneurs, especially if you have ADHD, it's just it was so nice for Jessica to have like again these weekly meetings to like kind of check in where like help me, like honestly hand holding that I need, where it's just like okay. And it's not to be like micromanage, like literally, like I'm like thank you, I almost want more, not really. but
Done.
I
Noted.
yeah. No, because she knows I'm like it. Like we worked together a few weeks ago on Friday. Like I was like, I love this, I just want her to like live down the street so I can just be like knock knock. Okay, anyways. But that's gonna be biggest piece of advice here. But let's kind of go into the checklist. So obviously the first step is to come up with a game plan and be realistic. Originally I think like Jess was like, oh, February. And it took, again, this is something where if you are on a team, it took me telling Jessica where I was like, I'd love that. But like for me, I don't think that's realistic. I think Q2, like, cause again, for 3, and it was, and like, I think could we have pulled it off? For sure. We just said like, we've been sitting on it, but it's more so like, now we're just like, putting the final like tweaks on everything, making sure we have everything good to go. Then I would think about like what's going to make this launch fun, right? And this goes into like picking a theme. Do you have anything you want to add to those? Like
yeah, I'll say too, like for like okay, thinking about like what makes a launch fun and kind of like part of your theme too, it did not hurt, and this was not planned. It really wasn't. This is just how Q1 works. That April Fool's Day is the start of Q2. And so we really wanted to lean into that a little bit with some elements of the launch. So again, if you're planning out your content calendar and your launch, calendar, how can you lean into like national days and holidays and different things like that? I think that can be really fun. I think that is something that is, you might always think about that with social media content, but you're like, oh, this isn't 2018 anymore. You know what I mean? Like we're not celebrating this, every single holiday or milestone. But like, can you do it for a launch? I think 100%. I think you can weave that in. The other thing that I think like to make a launch fun is bring your audience in on the process. And I think so many brands do this really well when they're launching. Like they'll either do like market research for like product development, or if they're rebranding, they'll do like surveys or polls like, do you like this? Do you like that? Like understanding your audience better, I think is really fun and important as a marketer, but also when you're launching, how do you bring them in and make them excited? So it's almost kind of like, hey guys, we did this. We're relaunching here, here we go. So that would be like my other like pieces of advice for like making a launch fun and picking a theme.
And I think that goes perfectly into like how to like tease before your launch. Like we're lucky because so obviously we have 3 rebrands that we're doing, and we actually we decided, and you guys will see, and we already plan on doing an episode at the end of April. So again, this is us already teasing you guys a little bit as well, and giving you guys a look into our rebrands. And we decided that with each 3 with these 3 rebrands that we were going to test it out and do it a little bit different. So for instance, like with #manage, if you guys are subscribed to the social club email, which I highly recommend if you are not to do, but we did tease it. The emails, we've shared the color palette, we shared some of the the pictures. For the past few weeks though, like at the top of the email, we said new logo loading, like to kind of give that. So we've done that with hashtag managed. With Social Savvy, we haven't done anything. And let me just tell you, Jessica and I went to a pop-up. You might have seen her share in our stories that we went to this pop-up and they did this like matchbox. You guys, it killed us. Jessica was like, are you sure? Like
I know.
it killed me to tell her no. I was like, no,
I
we
know.
can't.
I was like, I know it's a no, but I was really like scheming. I was like, wait, I wonder if I just text Maddie right now and say like, hey, can I post this? But no, I posted it with like a little blurred out, and I'm glad I did, because now I'm like, another great opportunity to share this opportunity of, like creating a custom matchbox. Like, hello, that's it was the coolest thing ever. And if you guys are ever coming to Charleston, or just honestly, I think you can order online. We'll link it, because it's so cool.
So cool. And then with the Savvy Edit, again, kind of, oh wait, let me go back to the Social Savvy though real quick. And so another part of like the fun thing that we did was like, we knew we were going to archive all the posts. So that's what led to us thinking of the April Fool's joke of like saying, oh, Instagram deleted all of our posts. Very clickbaity. We know this. We're marketers. Come on. And we like, our hope, and like I'm manifesting as I'm speaking this, I really am hoping that it does, like our profile views do go up because of that post.
Yeah.
Like it tricks people. But, and then with the Savvy Edit, really just slowly, like that's going to be more of a bada bing, bada boom, like, yay.
Yeah. Kind of your more traditional, what you would probably think of for a launch. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. And then, so that goes into like the next step where it's like creative content ideas, starting with the April's Fools. I'm trying to think of is there any other fun posts that you can think of that like we can say here?
I think there's like, it'll roll out like in like this week, but like Maddie had saved and created like a fun kind of like a ribbon cutting, and obviously we're not like a brick and mortar, but like doing it for a laptop, super cute, super fun. You could do it on a phone too. I think it could work for like anything digital and physical. But I want to say too, like for like creating these like different content ideas for like a rebrand, a launch of something. If you're rebranding, if you're launching now, if you've never have, and just, it's so important. It is one of the best investments I think I can ever talk about in business. Hire a photographer or a content creator or a videographer. Like, get professional content and think about it strategically. Like, think about it in the sense of, obviously, like, for like the content that we shot, like we pulled out all the fun stops that are like on our Pinterest board. Like, we're doing all these like fun creative ideas. We rented clothes from Nuuly, like cost effective. You know what I mean? Like, just way better. And so we're wearing fun pieces that are on brand. And I think that can help with content ideas too.
Yes. One post I will say, so that was for Social Savvy. Some that I'm excited for hashtag manage that will come out this week is something I've noticed, and like obviously sharing here, is like content that does well for the podcast is Jessica and I's meet cute. It's our love story. And so me knowing that makes me realize, okay, that's what's going to grow our audience. That's what's going to grow our listeners. And so coming up with different ways to share that. So I haven't made it yet, but like one is like a rewind of like how we got here, how we got to the rebrand, and pulling from the archives essentially. And I think that goes into the next thing too, is like making it interactive. I mean, wouldn't you, like, me knowing that about our content, I have to, like, that gets a lot of engagement. It is very interactive. People see themselves when they see our story.
Yeah. And I think that's where like knowing your audience, like reading your stats, knowing what does great. I know it's easier said than done to like read your stats and create content for it. And you know what's so funny? And again, Maddie and I are marketers, so we don't have this thought. Like, if we know what's working, like, we are running with it all the way to the finish line. Like, that is what we are going to repetitively create and be consistent on, because consistency creates success. And that's one thing that I think most people don't focus on. I mean, again, bringing it back to like what was in my feed this week, the viral day in the life, it's the same video. I honestly thought I was going to go to this creator's feed and see one mention of Saratoga spring water, but it is in so many of his videos. It's consistent. So again, knowing your audience, knowing he probably gets a ton of comments around that, and that's probably why it's more and more prominent in his videos. So I think knowing what they like is super important. So seeing what they're commenting, DMing, using polls, like just being creative to be interactive with your people is, I think, going to help you go the extra mile.
Yes, and I'll say one other thing to that. I think just because I also clearly I'm in my head right now, I'm like thinking of other Easter eggs I could drop right now. But like, it's one of those things where maybe you use your email list to be interactive too. Like, the people who are on your email list are choosing to be there. They are going to be your most engaged clients, customers, fans. So like, hence why we kind of did that with #managed, you know?
Yeah.
Okay, and then the last two things, trying to launch series. I'm trying to think if I don't know if we really have a series per se that we're doing.
I don't think so, but I think what can go like hand in hand in this is like thinking about like your launch. Like, we're thinking about it in a week, right? Like, we're not, I mean, we're not doing like a quote unquote series per se for the brands, but like we're thinking about it in a week. So like, yes, we are launching April 1, Q2. We've thrown around so many dates, but we're really doing a week long. And if you really peel back like the layers, like really the launch series, if you will, or campaign for #manage is a little bit longer because like we have been teasing on the newsletter for a little while. But I think there's, again, a few things that aren't really like applicable or like what we're doing, but like what we've done for client launches in the past is like you could do like a sale for that launch series. It could be a few days, it could be a week. You could do like, you could kind of like gamify and do a little bit of a giveaway with a launch. That's always fun too, like to get people excited, like launching a new product, give one away, like create a really good buzz around like that specific product.
And I will say, I guess maybe we kind of are doing a series via our email list.
Yeah. I feel like we definitely are.
Oh, did I just cough on? I'm so sorry.
We'll cut it.
Tries to mute myself. It can be a blooper. Anyways, the email series is, Jessica and I were just talking about this today, even, is for, obviously we have multiple email lists, right? We have Social Savvy, which is now going to be renamed the Clubhouse. So again, if you aren't subscribed there, you should. Then we have the podcast. Then we have the collective, which is our membership for #managed. And then we have the Savvy Edit. And with that, so each week we send out an email. And just today we were discussing, you know, I'm going to take the membership, for instance, which again, shameless plug. It's
join us in the mentorship.
Yeah.
Join us for your ad. Just kidding.
But so we're breaking that up to remind our members of the different features in the membership. Not even features. What's a better word?
Like perks, resource. I don't know.
Yes, perks, resources. You get the point. So I will say we are in a way doing a series, but that, I guess, in conclusion, is just to tell, like, it doesn't necessarily need to be a Reels series if that's what you're thinking of. It can be just different ways you can break that up. And then the last note is not to it's going to sound silly, but I've seen it happen. I think even I've done it in the past for my own things, and that is not to ghost after your launch day. Like, you need to lean into, like, it is going to be, I don't want to say overhyped, because it is going to be hyped, but it's one of those things where it's like, lean into that, because your excitement is going to, like, reflect in your audience's excitement, I think. Where, at least I'm hoping, if you're listening, if you've made it this far, that we've gotten you excited, and you, like, as you're listening, you are literally stalking all of our rebrands right now, because we are so excited, and there's just so much like, this is only the beginning. I think that's kind of the exciting part of doing a rebrand, doing a launch, is just, we have so, like, that's the funny part, is right now, as we're talking about, as we're rebranding, or like launching the rebrand, we're already talking about Q3, Q4, and like the things we have planned for you guys. So, like, stay tuned.
Yes.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
no, I will say there is no other pregnancies. I'm just like, if any of my friends, like, that's no, but just wait, when there is, just wait though, when baby he has a little friend.
Yes. Oh my goodness. You guys thought we were doing the most now? Like, no. So, of course, we talked about launching a rebrand, and of course, launching a pregnancy, so all full circle moments. But I think, again, to reiterate Maddie's point, like, don't ghost after launch day. Like, think about how small that percentage of your audience is who does see your social content, your feed content, your stories, reads your emails, opens your emails, what have you. Like, it's a small portion. Keep it going. Keep the momentum up, because it should be up there. It shouldn't be a one and done kind of thing. Like, it's a new thing that you're rolling out, and again, it can give you more content ideas as you're creating a content calendar or kind of going from there. The other thing too that I want to add, like, just like a quick little like note, is one thing that I see so many people, like, past clients we've worked with, people in our community who are like launching something, like whether it be a brand or rebrand, a new product, new service, like, the idea that their audience is too small for a launch. And I am like a firm believer, like, when it comes to launching, it's not necessarily about the quantity of your audience, but the quality of your audience. And, we've talked about like numbers and audience sizes in the past, but like, if you have 100 followers, if you put 100 people in the room right now, like, you probably wouldn't be able to talk to all of them. You wouldn't, whether you'd have stage fright to get on stage, or you wouldn't have time in an hour to certainly talk to all of those people. So don't diminish a launch because of like a story you've told yourself about the size of your audience. I just wanted to throw that in. I don't know why that dropped down, but it did. So I had to share.
No, I think that is honestly the perfect note to end on. Like I said, if you guys made it this far, thank you so much. I think honestly, this is one of our best episodes yet. I really do.
Yeah,
I
we're
feel
really
like
good at podcasting.
I truly feel, I personally, maybe I'm speaking for myself, but I think with this rebrand, like, I know I've said it before, like, each time our confidence is building. And I think the reason why I share that is because I know for a fact that there are listeners who hope to have their own podcast one day. And that this is like another friendly reminder that your favorite influencers their very first podcast episode was not good.
Right.
Good.
Yes.
And just, you get better with time, you get better with practice. And I hope that if you're we are here for you. If you have questions or are going through a rebrand, like, that's what the mentorship is for. Where our DMs are also always open. But yeah, I think this was one of the best yet. And I think with that being said, we will catch you on the airwaves next week.
Being a social media manager can feel like folding a fitted sheet while you're trying to explain at the family reunion what it is you actually do online. But you don't have to do it alone. The hashtag Managed Collective Mentorship is your weekly dose of business strategy, advice, and let's be honest, therapy. Grab your lunch, hop on our weekly lunch break coaching calls with myself and Maddie, and let's figure out how to thrive in this wild social media management world. Sign up now at hashtagmanaged.com/mentorship. Use code MANAGED for 20% off your mentorship. That's MANAGED. Join us now at hashtagmanaged.com/mentorship. We'll see you there at the next lunch break therapy sesh. Thanks so much for listening to this episode. If you made it this far, I think we've officially become internet besties. You can always call into the hashtag hotline and say hello, leave a review, or ask your burning questions.
Make sure you follow, rate, and review the podcast wherever you're listening from. Subscribe to the Social Club newsletter for our weekly email, and shoot us a DM over at hashtag Managed on Instagram, letting us know what your biggest takeaway was from this episode.